Part 8. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Pang. Chapter 71. I do intend to become a lord. Chen Ronghuo was neither reserved nor evasive, saying that he did not want to become a lord. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Huang Taizheng and the other 5 people suddenly showed surprise on their faces. Being able to follow a noble lord is definitely a great thing for them. This world is the world of lords. But for those lords, the more people in the territory, the better. All lords have one purpose, which is to harvest the power of faith. But the power of faith has its purity. The richer, happier, and more positive emotions the people living in the territory have, the greater the purity of the power of faith they generate. The power of high purity faith is far more precious than the power of low purity faith. And when the power of faith is gathered, it brings the power of faith of all people together, rather than dividing them. Therefore, poor villages like Xiahe village will not be annexed by territories such as Lushwiven town. Instead, they will be adopted as auxiliary villages, and then tax revenue will be collected regularly every year to support the residents of their own territories. Once there is a war, they can also summon the warriors from these villages to join the battle, which can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Of course, talented warriors like Ho San are still willing to take over these territories. Seeing the expressions of Huang Taizheng and the other 5, Chen Ronghuo's heart moved. As if he suddenly thought of something, he injected a trace of soul power into the ancient book, and at the same time passed an instruction to the ancient book: digitize loyalty from 0 to 100, and identify it 5 people's loyalty to me. This move can be described as a sudden whim. But if it succeeds, its impact on him in the future will be immeasurable. Zhu Daipen, loyalty 98 Huang Lin, loyalty 98 Huang Taizheng, loyalty 95 Ho San, loyalty 94 Li Haishui, loyalty 90-98. Note, loyalty is 0-30. Once faced with the threat, he will hesitate and find a way to break away from his master. Loyalty is 30-50. If encountering a bigger threat, he will escape alone. Loyalty is 50-70. When encountering great danger, he will still run away after hesitation, but during the escape, he will try his best to do what he can for his master without harming himself. Loyalty 70-90, can be entrusted with some important tasks. Loyalty 90-95, will not betray easily. Loyalty is 95-100, which can be regarded as die-hard loyalty. A large piece of information appeared on the ancient book. Chen Ronghuo's consciousness passed by, and a slight smile appeared on his face. In addition to the improvement of his own strength and the treasures he obtained, the biggest gain he gained after coming to this world was the loyalty of the 5 people in front of him. The 5 Huang Taizhengs were all more than 90% loyal to him and would not betray him easily. Even Huang Taizheng, Huang Lin, and Zhu Daipen's loyalty to him has exceeded 95, reaching the level of die-hard loyalty. Ho San's loyalty is 94, which Chen Ronghuo did not expect. It doesn't feel low, but it feels a little high. Chen Ronghuo knew that in Ho San's heart, the most important thing should be the entire Xiahe village. However, as long as he helps Ho San awaken the warlock bloodline in the future and develop Xiahe village, he may not be able to make Ho San's loyalty to him reach above 95. As for Li Haishui's loyalty, Chen Ronghuo felt that it was probably because he had not treated his wife and son well yet, so his loyalty was erratic. Therefore, as long as he waits for his wife and son to return to their original state, his loyalty to him will probably be stabilized. When Chen Ronghuo was thinking about this, the 5 of them looked at each other and said at the same time, "We are all willing to follow the young master forever and open up new territories for the young master." This world is not an Earth star. Being able to follow a lord in this world is an extremely honorable thing. Everyone, get up. Seeing the 5 people expressing their opinions, Chen Ronghuo also had some ups and downs in his heart. He bent down to lift the 5 people up one by one and said, "If you are willing to follow me, I also promise you here that I will live up to your following in the future and I will treat Xiaohe village well. However, it is not appropriate to publicize this matter now. Due to some special reasons, the strength that I can display is currently limited. Before the strength that I can display reaches the level of an earth warrior, or until a second person among you besides village chief Huang breaks through and becomes an earth warrior, it should not be leaked." Huanglin immediately said, "Don't worry, young master, we all know the seriousness of the matter." Everyone else nodded along. "That's good." Chen Ronghuo nodded. Then he said, "We will discuss other specific matters later. Now that time is limited, I will first try to help Li Haishui's wife and son take out the Xiaoyuan that was just taken away by this knocker." After he finished speaking, he squatted down, placed his left hand on the knocker who fell on the ground, and moved slowly. Seeing Chen Ronghuo's actions, others would naturally not disturb him. Psychic Ghost Body add 1. Psychic Ghost Body add 1. Just a moment later, Chen Ronghuo frowned slightly. This knocker was at the same level as him, at the peak of the first level. It was not as difficult for him to get attributes from it as it was from Huang Tai's Hung. But after touching it for a few minutes, he only found out a lot of properties like Psychic Ghost Body from its body. There are no other attributes at all. He didn't even find out the attributes of lifespan. At the same time, as a large number of Psychic Ghost attributes were found, the knocking ghost became weaker and weaker, and the whole body seemed to be about to transform from a solid body to a state of nothingness. Chen Ronghuo was puzzled. He could only try to find out all the attributes of this thing and see what was going on. At the same time, seeing Chen Ronghuo's expression, the others, especially Li Haishui, became nervous. Whoosh! Suddenly, just when Chen Ronghuo was about to find out all the attributes of the knocking ghost, a black shadow suddenly emerged from the knocking ghost's eyebrows, drew a black line in the air, and flew straight into the distance. Pa! But before the black shadow could escape, Ho-san, who was powerful in inspiration and quick in eyes and hands, stretched out his big hand and grabbed it in his hand. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo's pupils shrank. He stood up and looked at the thing in Ho-san's hand. He suddenly found that it was a worm with mostly black body, hideous appearance, and white suckers on its abdomen. Death Life Worm, Special Alien Worm, no level, weak attack power. Has an owner. Special Ability 1, can slightly control ghosts. Special Ability 2, can absorb the lifespan of living people and turn death into life. The introduction of the ancient book only has a few lines. It turns out that all this is caused by this thing. Chen Ronghuo's mind moved slightly, and at the same time, the 2 words "has an owner" also made him think, which reminded him of the underwater ghost cave in the information he got when he identified this knocking ghost before. Young master. Holding the death life worm in his hand, Ho-san felt its constant struggle and his face turned pale. "It's okay." Chen Ronghuo shook his head, touched the back of the life-death worm with his left hand and said, "This thing is called the life-death worm, it has almost no attack power, and can only control ghosts. The lifespan of Li Haishui's wife and son should be in this thing." Wan Lai. Thanks to Lai Shi for the 1000 coin reward, Mou Shi for another 300 coin reward, and the book friend Yuyuan Wufan for the reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 72. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, everyone looked at the life-death worm in surprise. No one thought that Wu Yukai, who somehow became a knocker, was actually controlled by such a small thing behind him. This life-death worm should have an owner, but it is unknown who it is. It is even possible that its owner is not a human. Chen Ronghuo continued. While he was saying this, he had already found out a number of attributes from the life-death worm. Pure lifespan add 1 add 1 add 1. Not long after, Chen Ronghuo found out more than a dozen lifespan attributes. He thought about it, wondering how much lifespan a lifespan attribute could add. Soul binding add 1. Suddenly, just after Chen Ronghuo found out more than a dozen lifespan attributes from the life-death worm, he thought about it and found out a soul binding attribute from it. He didn't know what this attribute did, but just after he found out this attribute from the life-death worm, the body of the life-death worm suddenly twitched, and then it exploded in Hosan's hand with a snap. The explosion was not very powerful. But as its body exploded, a ball of green light full of vitality flew out of its body, as if it was about to merge into the nearby void. Pure lifespan add 1. Chen Ronghuo's left hand was in this ball of green light at this time. As soon as the green light flew out, he took out a lifespan attribute from it. Not good. His face changed slightly. He never thought that the dead life worm would suddenly explode. And the ball of green light that flew out of its body was also obviously the lifespan it absorbed from the living. Chen Ronghuo knew that his top priority now was to take out as many attributes of these lifespans as possible. Condensation. The soul power of the first level peak suddenly surged from his brows, like an invisible big hand, wrapping up the green light. As his soul power wrapped like this, the speed of the green light spreading suddenly slowed down a lot. Chen Ronghuo breathed a sigh of relief, then quickly stretched out his left hand and put it completely into the green light, speeding up the speed of absorbing the life attribute. When this scene happened, Li Haishui and Zhu Deipen did not dare to breathe, for fear of disturbing Chen Ronghuo. Fortunately, after these lifespans flew out of the body of the life-death worm, it seemed much easier to take them out. More than a minute later, Chen Ronghuo let out a long breath and took out all the life attributes. Young master. Only then did Li Haishui look at Chen Ronghuo with anticipation. Let's go out and try it first. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. At this time, he was still thinking about the scene of the life-death worm exploding just now. At this time, he had already made some speculations about what happened just now. There should be something like a demon contract in the life-death worm. The binding attribute he just took out from its body should be a component of that contract. Most likely, it was because of this that the life-death worm exploded after he took out this attribute. However, he didn't know whether the self-explosion was the original mechanism of the contract or whether the owner did it after noticing something. Mr. Chen, village chief, what's going on? When the group came outside, the villagers saw them and immediately greeted them. And unknowingly, some people began to put his name before Huangtai's Hung when greeting Chen Ronghuo. Stop arguing, let the young master take a look first. Li Haishui interrupted the villagers' questions. Chen Ronghuo nodded to the villagers, then came to Li Ming, stretched out his left hand, and touched his head. With this touch, a large amount of life was immediately transferred to Li Ming's body. After a moment, Chen Ronghuo's mind moved slightly, and he transferred a full 60 life attributes to Li Ming's body. When so many life attributes were transferred into Li Ming's body, Li Ming's gray hair immediately turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the wrinkles on his face also fell off, and his hunched back also straightened up. Not bad. Seeing the good effect, Chen Ronghuo breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, through the appraisal, he also knew that one life attribute represents 1 year. And just now he took out more than 200 life attributes from the dead life worm and the green light. It really worked. At the same time, the villagers who saw the scene whispered. This scene can almost be called a miracle. Thank you, sir. Li Haishui knelt down again with a plop. With this kneeling, he finally let go of the thing he had been worried about for a long time. Okay, get up quickly. After Li Ming, Chen Ronghuo restored the lifespan of Li Haishui's wife, and then he helped Li Haishui up and said, if you really want to repay me, just stay with me like Zhu Deipen in the future. Young master. Li Haishui's body trembled, and he immediately showed a greater surprise. Seeing Li Haishui's look, Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly. There is no harm in bringing 2 guards around, but Huang Lin has a good character and some brains, so it is a bit of a waste to keep him by his side to guard the house. Zhu Daipen is not bad, but this guy is a bit stupid, so he set his sights on Li Haishui. Zhu Daipen plus Li Haishui, such a combination, in his opinion, should be pretty good. Of course, this is also related to the fact that after he restored the lifespan of Li Haishui's wife and son, his loyalty to him reached 98. According to the description in the ancient book, a loyalty of 98 can be regarded as a die-hard. However, Chen Ronghuo knew very well that being regarded as a die-hard does not mean being a real die-hard. People's hearts are unpredictable, and this is a truth everywhere. In other words, it is impossible for loyalty to not decrease after reaching above 95. For example, if he killed Li Haishui's wife and son in front of him at this time, then Li Haishui's loyalty of 98 points would definitely drop to a negative value instantly. Although he would definitely not do this, he had to prevent any misunderstandings in the future. Therefore, he would only regard the judgment of the ancient book as an important basis for identifying the loyalty of his subordinates. Thinking about this, Chen Ronghuo said to Li Haishui, "You must be tired after going through so many things tonight. Go back and spend time with your family. The rest of you, go back too." Tonight, it wasn't just Li Haishui's family that was robbed. There was also a family surnamed Zhao whose entire family was wiped out. He knew that after the things here were done, everyone would have to be busy again after returning, but he didn't plan to participate in these things. "Yes, sir." Li Haishui nodded and didn't refuse. At this time, he really needed to spend time with his wife and children. Then Chen Ronghuo turned around and said, "Huang Lin, Ho San, you two should go back too. You can handle the things in the village." "Don't worry, sir, we will handle it as soon as possible." Huang Lin agreed immediately. Chen Ronghuo nodded, then looked at Huang Taizheng and said, "Village chief, I will continue to help you with your treatment. Thanks to a book friend for providing the artifact Xuanhuan Jade Bowl, I will use this bowl to collect recommendation votes. Thanks to the old book friend Happy 668 for the 2000 coins reward, and also thanks to book friend 2018111900016232 for the reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 73. In the middle of the night, there were several new graves on the northern slope of the mountain behind Xiaohe village. Except for the big shots, when ordinary people in the world of gods die, they are simply dealt with and the matter is over. At most, the family members will stay in front of the grave for a few more days. "Mr. Zhao, have a good journey. Mr. Chen and we have avenged your revenge for you." Huang Lin sprinkled the last handful of soil on the grave bag. Then he turned his head and said to the people who came with him, "Everyone, this matter is over. Mr. Zhao's family doesn't have many relatives. Don't forget to prepare some expenses for their family during the Ghost Festival in the future." "Huang Lin, you don't need to tell me about this, we know it too," an old man in the village said in a deep voice. "That's what you always said." Huang Lin smiled and followed, "But apart from that, this matter involves Mr. Chen, so if you don't mention the knocker in the future, please try not to mention it. At the same time, I also hope that everyone can tell their families about this when they go back." This sentence is what Huang Lin really wants to say. The knocker involved the noble reward scroll. Once this matter was known, it would definitely not do any good to their Xiaohe village. Don't worry about this. We are all people who know the importance of things and know what to say and what not to say. However, when everyone else heard what Huang Lin said, They all thought that Xuanlin was worried about leaking the secret that Chen Ronghuo could get back the Xiaoyuan that was sucked away by the knocker, so they all nodded. That's good. Xuanlin smiled and followed. In this case, it's not too late, everyone should go back and rest. After everyone heard this, they immediately wanted to go back. Just a few people looked at it and said in surprise, Xuanlin, won't you go back with us? Xuanlin shook his head, I won't. Tonight, I will guard Mr. Zhao's grave. Everyone was a little surprised when they heard this, but also a little admired. In the village, Xuanlin has always been very popular. Soon, the large group of people in front of these new tombs were all gone. In the end, only Xuanlin and Hosan were left where they were. You go too. Xuanlin looked at the last remaining Hosandeo. Hosan shook his head, I'd better guard Mr. Zhao's grave. He was very good to me when I was a child. Xuanlin frowned. He was the one who picked up Hosan. Hosan rarely disobeyed what he said. At this time, Hosan took a deep breath and said again, Uncle Xuanlin, I know what you want to do, and I want to do it, but I can't do it. So, let me stay here to guard the grave. Also, good. Xuanlin was startled, then a smile suddenly appeared on his face, and his figure disappeared into the darkness. Xiahe village is an affiliated village of Lushwiven town. Lushwiven town will not completely ignore such a village. Generally speaking, they would secretly bribe 1 or 2 people in their affiliated villages to collect some information. No one knew what Xuanlin, who had always been a good man in the village, did that night. But after that night, apart from Zhao Tian's family and an old bachelor, they never appeared again in the village. Call. At the same time, also in the middle of the night, after Chen Ronghuo exhaled a long breath, he finally took out all the mixed poison from Huang Tishan's body. Thank you, sir. When everything was completed, Huang Taizheng suddenly showed a look of excitement. After the alien poison in his body disappeared, he immediately felt that the internal injuries in his body began to heal on their own. He always thought that his internal injuries were serious, but he did not know that such injuries could be completely healed by the Earth Warrior. The reason why he felt so serious and had difficulty recovering on his own was because of the heterogeneous poison that had been hiding in his body. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo also used ancient books to identify Huang Tishan's current state. He looked at Huang Taizheng, smiled slightly and said, Village chief, you don't have to be like this. Speaking of which, I have only been in Xiahe village for such a short time, but I have to seize power from the village chief. I feel really sorry. Huang Taizheng was startled, then immediately said, Young master is joking. For our Xiahe village, a remote and poor place, to be valued by the master and to be able to follow the master is a blessing that we have cultivated in countless lifetimes. Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly. The reason why he just said that was because he wanted to get things off his chest. In this way, Huang Tai will not be worried after his birthday. Huang Tishan's loyalty to him is 95%, and he would not be dissatisfied over this matter, but for Chen Ronghuo, perfection is better than perfection. With this in mind, he placed his hand on Huang Taizheng again, incorporated the vibrant attributes of the remaining yellow cabbage into his body and said, In this case, Mr. Huang, please go back and rest first. From then on, he began to call Huang Taizheng Huang Lao. In the future, Xiahe village will become his territory, and there will be no such thing as a village. Okay, sir. Huang Taizheng nodded. Following Chen Ronghuo, Huang Taizheng was sent outside the door. Before closing the fence door, Chen Ronghuo seemed to suddenly think of something, and suddenly said, By the way, Mr. Huang, I have one more little thing to trouble you with. When you go back, I hope you can help me prepare some clean clothes. It doesn't have to be too good, just the kind that the villagers wear. It's time for me to replace this one. He looked at his clothes and sighed silently. The clothes he is wearing now are still the sportswear he wore on Earth Star. After such a long time, even if he was extremely careful, the clothes would be extremely dirty. After changing it this time, he didn't plan to wear it again. Otherwise, if it wears out, when 300 years pass, he won't even have a souvenir. He is afraid that even he will forget where he came from. Huang Taizheng was startled, and then he immediately said respectfully, "Don't worry, sir, I will have someone send you a few items as soon as I get back." Chen Ronghuo nodded and watched Huang Taizheng go away. Meow. After everyone left, Shamao, who had been waiting for a long time, finally jumped into Chen Ronghuo's arms. These people are really annoying. He didn't even have time to enjoy Chen Ronghuo's touch. Sensing Shamao's emotions, Chen Ronghuo smiled and reached out to rub Shamao's smooth and supple back. Being touched like this by Chen Ronghuo, Shamao immediately narrowed his eyes with an expression of enjoyment on his face. Then Chen Ronghuo held Shamao and walked slowly into the house. Kaka. A slight noise came from the house. It's like something is eating the ground. Chen Ronghuo knew what it was. He walked into the house, looked around the corner, and immediately saw two semi-petrified river crabs with black and white claws, competing with the ground in his house. He stayed in seclusion for a few days, and no one cared about this guy. It never got a chance to let out air, so it was really hungry. But when Chen Ronghuo incorporated the hardness of big rocks into his house, he didn't even spare the ground. So after such a long time, this guy's teeth were almost worn away, and he didn't take a single bite of anything into his mouth. Book friends who are omniscient and omnipotent, can you answer my question? I just want to know how to keep my bowl. Thanks to Mou Shi for another 500 coin reward, this book has gained another disciple and fan landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Dupang. Chapter 74. The next morning, Chen Ronghuo walked out of the room in high spirits. After becoming an official warlock, his soul power reached the peak of the first level, and he could already use meditation instead of sleeping. But in the second half of the night, he only meditated for a short period of time. The rest of the time was spent practicing the Tiger Heart Refining Fist. Of course, when he was practicing the Tiger Heart Refining Fist, he did not forget to take the blood camellia that he had obtained in the Misty Valley. At this time, his body was full of energy and blood, and he had reached the peak of the warrior apprentice level. As long as he opens up his dantian and uses his dantian to contain his energy and blood, he will be promoted to a formal warrior and be more capable of protecting himself. Opening the door and walking out of the house, Chen Ronghuo glanced around and saw the semi-petrified river crab that he dragged out last night. This guy was chewing dirt in the yard at this time, as if he wanted to make up for the food he had been starving for several days. In addition, the wood spirit demon butterfly that he had seen twice appeared in his yard again. The urine splashed by the fat cat before obviously had no effect. "You guy, you don't seem to be very courageous." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. This time was different from before. When he saw the wood spirit demon butterfly again, he was no longer nervous. Now he is also a powerful person. A monster will not appear randomly and scare him. At the same time, although he can still use the demon contract to contract a demon, his next demon will definitely not choose the wood spirit demon butterfly. The wood spirit demon butterfly looks very beautiful and has good potential, but now, his soul power has reached the first level peak, and he can contract up to a first level peak demon. The strength of this wood spirit demon butterfly was far from what he expected. The first level peak demon may be able to help him when he fights against the second level evolvers. However, the cultivation level of this wood spirit monster butterfly is only at the early stage of the first level, so it will almost certainly not have any effect. The wood spirit demon butterfly, whose entire body was blue and white, fluttered its wings when it saw Chen Ronghuo walking out of the house, but did not fly away. After meeting him several times, it seemed to already know that Chen Ronghuo would not hurt it. But its eyes glanced behind Chen Ronghuo from time to time, obviously looking for the fat cat. But it didn't know that Xiamao got up extra early today. Before Chen Ronghuo got up, this guy had already got out of the house and came to the roof to bask in the sun. Xiamao discovered this a few days ago when he was waiting for Chen Ronghuo. It found that it was particularly good to lie on the roof in the morning and bask in the sun. Not only was the sun warm, but it was also able to see the smoke from the village from a high distance, which made the whole cat look very artistic. When the wood spirit demon butterfly carefully searched for its figure, it curled its lips and ignored the wood spirit demon butterfly. Now it had signed a demon contract with Chen Ronghuo. In its eyes, Chen Ronghuo is both heaven and earth. It signed a demon contract with Chen Ronghuo. In its view, those demons that have not signed a contract with Chen Ronghuo are not as noble as it. When it looks at other monsters, it can't help but show a sense of superiority. Chen Ronghuo ignored the thoughts of these little things. After he opened the door and walked out of the hut, as soon as he had an idea, a thin stone about a finger thick flew over 10 meters away and fell into his hands. He held the stone in his right hand, stretched his finger tendons, and exerted force. The stone snapped into 2 pieces. This time, he used his pure physical strength to break up. When the broken stones fell to the ground, Chen Ronghuo looked at his achievement and was particularly happy. In the corner, a big river crab that was chewing dirt glanced at Chen Ronghuo with its protruding eyes. As its eyes rotated, tiny bits of stone fell out. At this time, it seemed to be wondering whether it could withstand Chen Ronghuo's break with its black and white pliers, which were the same as stones. After thinking about it, it lowered its head and took a bite of dirt again. But it's still too dangerous to fight with people in close combat. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. I am a warlock, and also a magician. I must always keep this in mind. Thinking this, he looked at the half-petrified river crab again. Suddenly, his eyes moved, and he thought that he could restrain the stone with the power of his soul. I wonder if he could also restrain this half-petrified river crab, which was not much different from the stone. He has tried and learned through ancient books that most living beings have complex force fields in their bodies. It is extremely difficult for him to control these living beings with soul power. But this mutated river crab is obviously different. With the thought, Chen Ronghuo immediately mobilized a large amount of soul power, which surged out from the center of his eyebrows, turned into an invisible big hand, and wrapped it around the half-petrified river crab hiding in the corner without knowing why. Ah, boy, what did you do again? Ah, I flew. In an instant, this semi-petrified river crab weighing dozens or hundreds of kilograms, wrapped in the power of Chen Ronghuo's soul, soared into the air and arrived in front of him. And when he was nervous, the words this guy could say seemed to have increased a lot. It seems pretty good. Chen Ronghuo touched his chin, looked at the half-petrified river crab with its teeth and claws in front of him, and wondered if he could make this guy more powerful. For example, add sharp attributes to its 2 large pliers. Of course, if this guy can advance to become a demon, and then sign a contract with it, it will be even better. In this way, when he fights in the future, he can use the power of his soul to catch this guy and let him fly out, and let him wave 2 large pincers, one black and one white, to attack the enemy. After thinking about it, Chen Ronghuo waved his hand and put the big guy back to the corner. He knew that his idea was good, but it was definitely not that simple to realize it. Whoosh! On the fence, the wood spirit demon butterfly saw this horrifying scene, and after its color turned slightly white, it flapped its wings and disappeared. It didn't expect that Chen Ronghuo, who seemed very kind before, would have such a terrifying side. Looking at the departing wood spirit demon butterfly, Chen Ronghuo shook his head, walked out of the yard, and walked around the village. During this period, he exercised his soul power from time to time, and found some things at random, found out the attributes from them, and stored them in his attribute space. He has been storing attributes all the time. Some attributes seem useless now, but they may be useful in the future. His attribute space seems to have no limit at present. In this way, he is naturally prepared for any eventuality and can store as many attributes as he can. Around 8 o'clock in the morning, Huang Taizheng personally brought him a few clothes. These clothes seem to be made overnight with new fabrics. The style is similar to that of ordinary villagers, both upper and lower, but slightly more refined. After changing into a white dress, Chen Ronghuo looked himself up and down, and suddenly felt that he had really integrated into this world now. Put 2 bowls. Thanks to Moueshi for another 1000 coin reward, and Qianchang Nangguo for 500 coin reward landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Dupang. Chapter 75. Take out the dirty attribute from the sportswear, fold it and put it in the cabinet. Chen Ronghuo sighed, closed the cabinet and walked out of the house. However, when he came to the yard and was illuminated by the warm sunshine, his mood immediately improved a lot. At the same time, he suddenly thought that he might not have to wait for 300 years to see and wear clothes like those on earth. What can he achieve in 300 years? Is it to become a great lord who dominates one side, or to be deified? Sometimes, dreams are always necessary. If he can become a great lord and make his territory prosperous, then it is possible to bring the things on earth to this world. He doesn't know much about technology. But he is now a warlock. Warlocks can set up formations and refine secret treasures. With the help of ancient books, it is not impossible for him to bring TV, telephone, and even the internet on earth. The Lord needs the power of faith. The higher the purity of the power of faith, the higher its value. The richer the people live, the happier they feel, and the better their mental state, the purer the power of faith they generate. So once his territory can support all of this, it may not be impossible for him to bring the system on earth to the world of gods. Think about it, once 300 years later, other people on earth land in the world of gods and find that there is such a territory in this world that is not much different from earth. It may be an interesting thing. The world of gods has existed for a very long time, much longer than Earth. But these are 2 worlds after all, and some things on Earth can always be used as reference for the world of gods. Such thoughts flashed through Chen Ronghuo's mind one by one, and finally he dispelled some of the loneliness of coming to this world alone, and at the same time, he deepened his expectations for his future. Young master. Then not long after he changed his clothes, Huang Taizheng, Huang Lin, Ho San, Zhu Deipen, and Li Haishui came one after another. They officially announced yesterday that they would follow Chen Ronghuo, so today they naturally had to discuss together how Xiahe village would develop in the future. Let's go to the back mountain. Chen Ronghuo said. This time he did not let the few people into his room. His room was too small. Including himself, a group of 6 people squeezed in to discuss things secretly, just like an underground party. But there was no rush to change the house. When he officially became the lord in the future, he would just build a lord's mansion. After leaving the village, the few people came to the small hillside in the back mountain. Looking at the village from a distance, Chen Ronghuo stood at the top and asked, "Everyone, do you have any opinions on how we will develop in the future?" Opinions? Zhu Deipen scratched his head. Even though someone died in the village last night, he still fell asleep after feeling sad for a while after returning. Li Haishui's situation was similar to his. After what happened at home, he spent some time with his wife and children, and just looked forward to the future, and then fell asleep exhausted. Chen Ronghuo glanced at the 2 people and looked at Huang Lin and Ho San. As for Huang Taizheng, Chen Ronghuo knew that it would be impossible to ask him for advice on the first day he came to the world of gods. Huang Lin was a little silent today, and I don't know what he was thinking. Ho San on the side said after a moment of silence, "Sir, Our Xiahe village is a subordinate village of Xuanhuan town. If we want to establish a territory, Xuanhuan town must be our biggest obstacle. There are only so many resources in this area, and Xuanhuan town will never allow another territory to appear next to it. Chen Ronghuo nodded without interrupting, wanting to hear Ho San's opinion. Ho San continued, a few days ago, Zhu Qian came to the village and issued the Green Water Bay Lord's order, saying that we should pay 100,000 copper coins in taxes this year, and at the same time let me and the other 10 warriors in the village join the Green Water Bay Guard. Later, the village chief stopped us for some reason. It is also strange that after so much time, Green Water Bay Town has not come to trouble us. He paused slightly. Li Haishui, who didn't know the truth of the matter, also showed doubts. Chen Ronghuo glanced at Huanglin. Huanglin understood and said, "Young master, I and Zhu Daipen went out before, and on the way back, we met Xuan from Xuanhuan town. At that time, Xuan was seriously injured in the battle with 2 earth warriors from Angsha town, and he was disrespectful to you, so we secretly killed him. The reason why Xuanhuan town has not taken any action these days is probably because of this matter." Ho San was stunned, then nodded, and said, "That's right. Xuanhuan town did not come to our Xiahe village at the first time because of Su An's death. But this matter can be delayed for a while, but it will definitely not be delayed for a lifetime. Young master is now healing the village chief's injuries so that the village chief can exert the strength of an earth warrior. It should be to deal with the next reaction of Xuanhuan town, right?" "That's right." Chen Ronghuo nodded. "This is not appropriate." Ho San hesitated and said, "As far as I know, Xuanhuan town has 3 earth warriors including Lord Zhou Yuanhua, and 100 guards composed of warriors. Generally speaking, it is difficult for warriors to pose a threat to the earth warriors. Even if more than a dozen warriors attack together, the earth warriors can use their speed to play with these warriors in the palm of their hands. But the guards of Green Water Bay Town may be a little different." Chen Ronghuo narrowed his eyes. "How is it different?" Ho San said in a deep voice, "In the past, the guards of Green Water Bay Town were the same as the guards of Red Sand Town. They practiced in a large square every day. And what they practiced were all skills and practical methods. But 3 years ago, Zhou Yuanhua suddenly transferred all these more than 100 people to a newly built underground practice place for practice, and strictly prohibited everyone from discussing this matter. No one knows what these people do every day. But as we all know, there are battle formations in this world. If the Green Water Bay Guards are practicing the art of battle formations, then with these more than 100 warriors, it is not impossible to fight against several earth warriors." Chen Ronghuo's pupils shrank when he heard this. Through the book A Brief History of the Continent of Gods, he knew that, as Ho San said, there are indeed battle formations in this world. The battle formation is powerful. Even the weakest battle formation, used by 5 or 6 peak warriors, can compete with the warriors of the earth. But if you want to practice the art of battle formation, you must cooperate with the precious exclusive battle formation weapons refined by the sorcerer. General forces simply do not have the financial resources to purchase these exclusive battle formation weapons. If the more than 100 warriors in Xuanhuan town are really practicing the art of battle formation, then his previous arrangement may not work. Young master told us a truth: knowing yourself and the enemy, you will never be in danger in 100 battles. At this time, Ho San continued to say, "Before we do anything specific, we must first understand the strength of Xuanhuan town. Of course, the iron must be hard. No matter how strong Xuanhuan town is, there is one thing we must do in Xiahe village, that is, to improve our strength as soon as possible." "Have you said this?" Ho San paused and didn't say anything more. Xiahe village is pretty good, and it is outstanding among the nearby villages, but compared with Xuanhuan town, it is far behind. At the same time, after so many years, the strength of Xiahe village has not increased significantly. Now if they want to make great progress in a short period of time, it is obviously impossible for Xiahe village to do it alone. Chen Ronghuo nodded. Ho San's words can be summed up in 2 points. The first is to find out the strength of Lushwiven town first and see how they will deal with Xiahe village next. The second is to improve their own strength as soon as possible. This is a very moderate statement, but in the current situation, with the conditions of Xiahe village, this is really the only way to do it, and even he can't think of a better way. After thinking about it, he asked, "Do you have any good suggestions?" Several people were silent. Chen Ronghuo was a little disappointed. But no matter what, the news that Lushwiven town may have a battle formation that he learned from Ho San this time is also very important. Mr. At this time, Huang Lin suddenly spoke after a moment of silence, "There is one thing I want to tell you. Lushwiven town usually secretly bribes 1 or 2 people in each village to collect information. I knew about this before, but I didn't pay attention to it. After all, there were no secrets in our Xiahe village before." Hearing Huang Lin's words, Chen Ronghuo frowned suddenly. He asked in a deep voice, "So, the news that I appeared in Xiahe village should have been leaked? Xiahe village is relatively closed, and he didn't have such great power in Xiahe village before. Even if he wanted to hide himself, there was no way. So his existence is now likely to have been known by Lushwiven town." Thinking of this, he immediately became a little alert in his heart. Before he came to Xiahe village was honest. As soon as he came to Xiahe village began to disobey the transfer order of Lushwiven town. It is unlikely that Lushwiven town would not think too much about this matter. "Sorry, Sir." Huang Lin lowered his head, and then he said after a moment of hesitation, "But the news that Lushwiven town knows about you, young master, should only know that you are a wood sorcerer who once saved my life. They probably don't know the other news yet." Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath. In this case, there should still be room for recovery. He thought for a while and said, "Then do you know who was bribed in your Xiahe village?" "I know." Huang Lin nodded, and then he looked at the others and said, "The person in our Xiahe village who was bribed by Lushwiven town is Geng Zhong. In addition, please forgive me. In order to prevent Geng Zhong from leaking the young master's affairs, I sank him into the river next to the village last night without reporting to the young master." Chen Ronghuo was stunned. As for the others, except Ho San who seemed to have known about it for a long time, even Huang Taizheng, looked at him in shock after hearing Huang Lin's words. All of them seemed to have just met Huang Lin. However, after Huang Lin finished speaking, he said nothing and lowered his head, as if he didn't see the expressions of others. Seeing Huang Lin like this, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed, revealing a bit of contemplation. After a while, he said, "You did the right thing in this matter. Although letting Geng Zhong sink into the river will also arouse the vigilance of Lushwiven town, it is better than leaving him in our village and leaking the village's secrets. Especially about the knocker yesterday, I was a little negligent. It is indeed better to prevent Lushwiven town from knowing about this matter. Young master is so complimentary." Huang Lin spoke calmly, his face was dark, making it difficult to tell what he was thinking. After everyone else heard Chen Ronghuo praise Huang Lin, they immediately put their minds at ease. Only Ho San, after seeing Huang Lin actually telling everyone what he did last night, his eyebrows jumped, as if he had seen some of Huang Lin's thoughts. Geng Zhong was a spy bought by Lushwiven town in Xiahe village. It was good, but he was also from Xiahe village after all. Huang Lin killed him quietly and told him in public. No matter what the reason was, no one else could. Don't think too much. In addition, at this time, Huang Lin pondered for a while and then spoke again. If Lushwiven town really has a battle formation as Ho San just said, then our previous plan may be difficult to implement. Got it? In this case, there should be only one way for us to avoid attracting the attention of Greenwater Bay town before we become stronger. That is to show the enemy weakness first, pretend to hand over 100,000 copper coins, and send people to Lushwiven town. After hearing Huang Lin's words, Huang Taizhong couldn't stand it anymore and suddenly shouted, "It's not impossible for us to hand over 100,000 copper coins, but if we send people to Lushwiven town, we will go to the battlefield and fight with Angsha town." "A battle? Who do we send? Shall we send you?" "I can't." Huang Lin shook his head, "But father, you have recovered from your injuries now. You are an earth warrior. One person should be able to represent all of us." "You." After Huang Taizhong was stunned for a moment, his eyes almost bulged out of his head. He never thought that Huang Lin, who had been extremely well behaved in front of him before, would actually say such treacherous words. However, after Huang Lin finished speaking, he thought about it carefully and felt that what Huang Lin said seemed to make some sense. As an earth warrior, he can indeed represent the entire Xiahe village when he goes to Greenwater Bay Town, and with his strength, he should not die easily on the battlefield. It was just the truth, but when he thought that it was Huang Lin who said these words, he was still very angry. After taking several deep breaths, he turned to Chen Ronghuo and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but what Huang Lin just said does make some sense. If there is no other way, I will go to Lushwiven town on behalf of the rest of the village, and there will be nothing wrong with it." Chen Ronghuo nodded. He had to say that Huang Lin's suggestion was indeed something he had not thought of. If there is really no other way, doing this is indeed a good way to delay time. However, this matter needs to wait a little longer. At this time, he also completely understood what Huang Lin was thinking. First, strive for credit. This is an obvious one. After everyone else went back to sleep last night, Huang Lin got rid of the spies hiding in the village. No matter how you say it, this is a credit. Second, Huang Lin told the matter in front of everyone, which obviously can also mobilize the enthusiasm of others. This is of great significance to their newly formed team. Third, no matter what, Geng Zhong was a member of the village. Huang Lin quietly sank him into the river, which would probably make other people feel resentful. But this matter may also be one of Huang Lin's purposes. The team he had just formed were all original members of Xiahe village, and he was the only outsider. He guessed that Huang Lin might be worried that the relationship between them and his group was too good, and that he would become suspicious after the territory was established and stabilized. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He chose this place under the guidance of the ancient book, and now it seems that the opportunities mentioned in the ancient book may not only refer to the inheritance of the Black Snake, but also the noble reward scrolls. In such a world of lords, meeting talents is obviously an opportunity. In a small and broken village like Xiahe village, it is extremely rare to meet someone like Huang Lin who has never received education but can think of so many subordinates in a short period of time. Then, he looked at Ho San again. After seeing Ho San also look thoughtful, he immediately became more satisfied. This chapter has nearly 5,000 words. It is not divided into chapters. Please vote. In addition, this book is really strong in the new book issue. Judging from the results, this book is much better than the previous one, but Sanjiang will be published next week. After Sanjiang, I guess it will be forced to be put on the shelves, because the update is too fast, and the recommended spots may be less than the previous book. Thanks to Mou Shi for another 200 coin reward, and Heartsy Will for another 500 coin reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 76. Let's end today's discussion here. Next, Huang Lin and Ho San, you two pay attention to the news in Lushwiven town. After pondering for a moment, Chen Ronghuo said, if the warriors in Lushwiven town are really secretly practicing battle formations, then the two earth warriors in Angsha town surrounded Xuan, causing Xuan's death, and Lushwiven the town will definitely not give up. What do you mean, master? Huang Lin and Ho San's eyes lit up slightly. Chen Ronghuo nodded and said, "The conflict between Lushwiven Town and us is an internal conflict. The contradiction between Lushwiven Town and Angsha Town is an external contradiction. If it were me, if I was strong enough, I would definitely resolve the external conflicts first and then the internal conflicts. In other words, Greenwater Bay Town has not given us any trouble for such a long time, most likely because they are looking for an opportunity to fight against Angsha Town. What we should do next can wait until after the battle between the two territories." Everyone's eyes lit up slightly. So, they should still have some time to prepare. "There is one last thing," Chen Ronghuo continued. "I told Huang Lin and Zhu Deipen before that if you work with me, I will definitely reward you for your merits and punish you for your mistakes." This time, Huang Lin took credit for uncovering the evildoer in the village. Having said this, Chen Ronghuo paused slightly. Huang Lin quickly lowered his head and said, "Sir, in this matter, I acted on my own without telling you in advance. Although I have merit, I also have faults. Let's just balance the merits with the faults." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. "In my case, merit is merit, fault is fault, and merit and fault cannot offset each other. Although there was a curse in the human snake corpse I asked you to carry back last time, it also contained the inheritance and power left by the warlock during his lifetime. Obtain its inheritance and you will immediately become a blood warlock, and you will even gain the power left in your body. Based on your achievements this time, it is logically impossible for you to receive such a reward. However, with special treatment in special times, our top priority now is to strengthen ourselves as soon as possible and gain power comparable to Greenwater Bay Town. So, I can reward you with this in advance." "Sir, I..." Huang Lin's fist suddenly tightened, and he wanted to refuse, but he couldn't say anything. When Chen Ronghuo said reward, he didn't care at all. But he never thought that what Chen Ronghuo planned to reward him would be so precious. He did not have the qualifications to be a warlock, but Chen Ronghuo was actually able to allow him to obtain the qualifications and change his profession to become a warlock. This kind of opportunity is probably something that the descendants of some of the great lords on Beiwu Island who do not have the qualifications to be a warlock would only dream of. At this time, several other people were also shocked. They didn't expect that Chen Ronghuo would be so generous. At this time, Chen Ronghuo looked at Huang Lin and continued, "But after you change your job and become a warlock, no matter what achievements you make in the next few years, I will not give you any rewards. This can be regarded as a punishment. Are you willing to accept it?" "Don't worry, young master. When I change my profession and become a warlock, I will follow the young master with all my heart, serve him in front and behind, and remove all obstacles." Huang Lin bowed his body and answered sincerely. "Okay." Chen Ronghuo nodded, waved his hand and said, "In that case, today's matters will end here. Huang Lin will stay for a while, and you all can go back first." Then, under Chen Ronghuo's gaze, several others left together. But when they left, several people felt extremely complicated. They had just followed Chen Ronghuo. For various reasons, they were extremely loyal to Chen Ronghuo. They were also full of yearning for the future because of Chen Ronghuo's mystery. But they still didn't expect that in just one day, Huang Lin would get such a precious reward from Chen Ronghuo. What level of strength will Huang Lin reach after becoming a warlock? Is it possible to directly reach the second level? Envy, jealousy, this is inevitable. At the same time, this time, their enthusiasm was all aroused, and they were eager to make great achievements immediately. Chen Ronghuo just said that special treatment will be given in special times. Now is the early stage of establishing their power. At this time, even if their achievements are not great, they may still receive precious rewards, just like Huang Lin. In the future, it will definitely not be like this again. Huang Lin. After Huang Lin was the only one left in the field, Chen Ronghuo recounted the information he had obtained from the ancient book. I didn't tell you just now. After you accept the inheritance of that bloodline warlock, your body will appear in a short time. Characteristics of snakes. Of course, this characteristic will slowly dissipate in the future. Also, that blood warlock inherited the power of the Mongadud Black Emperor snake. The Mongadud Black Emperor snake ranks 7th on the list of strange snakes and is a type of extreme snake. You will only be able to follow the path of the snake and no other path, and you will also lose the ability to reproduce. In addition, after accepting the inheritance, when your strength is strong enough to transform into the mature Mongadud Black Emperor snake, your strength will also reach a bottleneck and you will be unable to make progress throughout your life. So, think about it again. After hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Huanglin said without any hesitation, "Sir, there is no need to think about it. I choose to accept the inheritance." How could he not know at this time that the inheritance he was about to receive was by no means an ordinary inheritance? If he refuses such an inheritance because of various restrictions, he would be a fool. Chen Ronghuo nodded. In that case, you should marry a wife as soon as possible and have children. Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui both have wives, but Huanglin, 28 years old, is a bachelor. Sir, Hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, Huanglin, who was extremely decisive before, immediately showed hesitation. At the same time, his dark face also turned red. Seeing Huanglin's appearance, Chen Ronghuo smiled and shook his head and said, "I can see the condition of your body. You find a wife first, and when you find a wife, I will help you heal your body." Through the identification technique of ancient books, Chen Ronghuo has long known that the reason why Huanglin is still a bachelor is because he is a eunuch. "Sir, can you really cure me?" Hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, Huanglin was stunned. Even if he behaved maturely before, he was still very excited when it came to this aspect. Even the inheritance of the Mongadud Snake King that Chen Ronghuo just mentioned did not make him so excited. Chen Ronghuo smiled and said, "If I say yes, then it will definitely work. The inheritance of the Mongadud Snake King snake is too important. Huanglin is very loyal to him and it is very difficult for him to betray, but he still wants to keep one more trick. That is to let Huanglin leave offspring before he gets the inheritance. In this way, no matter how powerful Huanglin is in the future, as long as his offspring is in his territory, it is almost impossible for Huanglin, who can no longer reproduce, to rebel." So, after sending Huanglin away, Chen Ronghuo practiced for a day, and at night, he summoned Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui. Then, in the name of checking the body, he took out a root strong, add one attribute from each of them. "I didn't set up the bowl last night, there were so few tickets, and I made a bowl with mud in my dream at night this time. Everyone should be gentle." Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 77. Huanglin, who had been single for 28 years, went to Shanghe village to pick up an 18 or 19-year-old girl the day after Chen Ronghuo said he would help him recover. This girl is cute and cute, like the little sister next door. Chen Ronghuo felt extremely incredible when he saw her blushing and following Huanglin to Xiahe village. Not only Chen Ronghuo, but also everyone else in the village had their eyes widened. They all sighed that Huanglin was really capable. "Sir, her name is Su Qian. Both her parents were killed by the monster knocking on the door. She has no relatives in Shanghe village." After Huanglin brought Su Qian over, he briefly mentioned it to Chen Ronghuo. Then he acted decisively and quickly, without any unnecessary steps, and got married to Su Qian on the same day. Of course, Chen Ronghuo did not disappoint Huanglin. Before Huanglin entered the bridal chamber, he integrated the attributes obtained from Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui into his body, allowing him to get rid of the embarrassment. The following time was extremely fulfilling for him. In addition to still spending 2 hours every day, giving lessons to the villagers. Most of his time was spent practicing soul control and flame control. As for the insect plague that was harming nearby areas, although he already knew the solution, he did not take action immediately. Because once he solves the insect plague, it will be too eye-catching and does not conform to his fundamental strategy of low-key development. Early morning 3 days later. In a small col in the back mountain of Xiahe village. Chen Ronghuo wandered here early and sat cross-legged on a flat stone. A small sword as long as a palm was suspended in front of his door, glowing with a cold light in the sunlight. Go. With a sudden thought, the small sword pierced forward as fast as a spark of fire. When it flew 10 meters away from him, it made another sudden turn. The tip of the sword was slightly raised, as if a civet looked back without any warning. Then the small sword sank down and swam close to the ground, as nimble as a snake. Occasionally it brushed against the earth and stone, and immediately split it into 2 pieces, making it flat and smooth. He asked Huang Taizhong to help find this small sword. Of course, after it fell into his hands, he blessed it with more than a dozen sharp attributes and tenacity attributes. In this way, this thing is already rare among ordinary soldiers. While practicing his soul control ability, Chen Ronghuo moved his mind again and waved his arm forward, and suddenly a large fire appeared from his hand. Like a huge wave, it rose up to 3 or 4 meters high. The huge waves were like a thick wall of flames, pushing forward more than 10 meters with a roar. Wherever the flames passed, the earth was scorched. He currently doesn't know any secret techniques, and only knows this ordinary way of controlling flames. But because his flame power has reached the peak of the first level, the power it exerts has become extremely terrifying. When the flames were about to burn out, he retracted his hand, and the remaining flame returned to his hand with a whoosh. Then he slapped it, and it turned into little flames. Soul Control, LV1, Medium. Flame Control, LV1, Medium. Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed as his consciousness fell on the ancient book. This was the result of his hard work for several days. I don't know if it's because he contracted the natural disaster demon flame, but he seems to be very talented in these 2 areas. Sir. Suddenly, a tall figure ran quickly from a distance. It was Zhu Daipen. With a thought, Chen Ronghuo took back the small sword, sheathed it and put it in his pocket. This was a bit troublesome, but in order to prevent him from accidentally hurting himself, he had to do this for the time being. He had tried the storage ring he got from the Misty Valley several times, and knew that even with his peak first order soul power, he didn't know how long it would take to break its seal. What's going on? When Zhu Daipen came closer, he asked. Zhu Daipen and several people in the village knew about his cultivation here. But he had already said beforehand that there was nothing special, so don't bother him. Sir, Ho-san has just come back. Zhu Daipen said immediately. Ho-san? Chen Ronghuo's heart moved. After he told Ho-san to pay attention to the movements in Lushwiven town, Ho-san left Xiahe village. This was the first time Ho-san came back in the past few days. Come on, come with me and take a look. After saying this, he quickly walked towards the village with Zhu Daipen. Meow. The fat cat following him saw him leaving, and immediately jumped and fell into his arms. Zhu Daipen glanced at the fat cat and wondered what was so good about this cat that it deserved to be valued so much by Chen Ronghuo that he would carry it with him wherever he went. But as soon as this thought flashed in his mind, he forgot it again. Chen Ronghuo touched the fat cat's smooth fur and accelerated towards the village. But before he could walk back to the village, he saw Ho-san and Huang Taizhong rushing towards him quickly. Sir. When he was still more than 10 meters away from Chen Ronghuo, Ho-san said, in the past few days, I have been checking on the road leading to Hongyu village from Lushwiven town. An hour ago, I saw Zhou Yuanhua, the lord of Lushwiven town, and Li Zhen, the guard commander of Lushwiven town, leading more than 100 guard warriors from a distance, heading straight for Hongyu village. The warriors in the escort team are all well equipped. In the past few years, they must have really been practicing the art of battle formation secretly. Chen Ronghuo's pupils shrank when he heard this. This is definitely one of the worst news for him. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Come on, let's go to Hongyu village with me." After Xuan's death, Hongyu village was occupied by Angsha town and became a subsidiary village of Angsha town. At this time, there are a large number of warriors from Angsha town in Hongyu village. Now the guards of Lushwiven town are heading to Angsha town, obviously wanting to recapture Hongyu village and avenge Xuan's death. After all, Lushwiven town now doesn't know that Xuan was actually killed by him. Huang Taizheng and others are all dignified. After Chen Ronghuo's order was issued, he immediately followed Chen Ronghuo and rushed straight to Hongyu village. Because the warrior's strength reached the peak of the apprentice level, Chen Ronghuo's speed this time was much faster than last time. It took more than half an hour to reach the destination after walking fast for more than 10 miles. The battle between the two towns is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is something he absolutely cannot miss. He must find out the strength and trump cards of the two towns in this battle to see how powerful they are. Only in this way can he have a clear idea of his future development. Kill. Kill. Die. When they were still some distance away from Hongyu village, they heard the sound of fierce fighting. Hearing the noise, several people did not dare to approach further. They hurriedly took a detour and quickly climbed a mountain beside the boundary between Hongyu village and Qinjian village. The mountain was quite steep. When they reached the halfway point, they could already see the whole battle in Hongyu village from afar. Recommended bowl of noodles. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 78. There is a large lake southwest of Hongyu village, with rippling water and sparkling microwaves. When the shouts of killing continued in the red fish village, the surface of the lake suddenly broke open, revealing a huge red fish head. Then the water columns rose up. One of the largest water columns lifted the giant underwater fish 20 or 30 meters high, and then transformed into a throne of water, causing the red scales all over its body to flash, and the majestic giant red carp floated across the water. Lying on it, the huge red carp lying on the water column swayed its tail, opened its ink-colored eyes as big as a bowl, and spit out bubbles from time to time while watching the battle in the red fish village with great interest. Around it, there are 30 or 40 water columns climbing up. These water columns are smaller. But on every water column, there is also a 1 or 2 meter long red carp jumping, looking towards the red fish village along with the red carp king. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo and others were also standing on the hillside of the mountain next to Qinjian village, looking towards Hongyu village from a distance. Seeing this, they all looked shocked. The battle in Red Fish village seems to have just begun. But the intensity of the battle was far beyond their imagination. There are more than 100 warriors in Lushwiven town, all wearing helmets and armor, uniformly dressed, shining brightly in the sun. All of them, all in a team of 5. A total of 23 teams were formed. These 23 teams, like 23 chariots, shuttled through the battlefield, dividing the originally neat teams in Angsha town. But the most important thing is the fighting style of these 23 teams. The 5 men in each of their teams had green lights flashing on their breastplates. As the light flashed, whenever an attack fell on any one of them, a circle of green water-like ripples would spread out and neutralize the attack. In addition to the breastplates, their shoes and arms also had similar green flashes. With these green flashes, each of them moves much faster than they should. When attacking, the attack power is also increased a lot. In this way, the warriors of Angsha town are no match for Green Water Bay town. Just after the fight, a large number of warriors from Angsha town died in the field because they were not used to such a battle. Chen Ronghuo's eyes fell on the shining equipment of those warriors, and with a thought, he used the identification technique of the ancient book. First level Water Wave Battle Array Equipment. A complete set of Water Wave Battle Array equipment consists of 5 breastplates, 5 wrist guards, and 5 pairs of shoes. It is used by 5 warriors of the same level. After becoming proficient, it can exert the power of a warrior of a higher level. 5 of the breastplates carry secret patterns that can condense the energy and blood of 5 people, activate the water microwave technique, and resist the attacks of high-level warriors. 5 wrist guards, carrying secret patterns, can activate the magic green water power blessing to make the attack stronger. 5 pairs of shoes, carrying secret patterns, can stimulate the magic flow of water and increase the wearer's speed. Speed, strength, defense. Chen Ronghuo took a slight breath and was shocked by the generosity of Green Water Baytown. The weapons and secret treasures used by warlocks are all divided into 4 levels: lower, middle, upper, and best. He scanned the field one by one and found that there were only 2 teams of warriors from Green Water Baytown, wearing the best battle array equipment. The 4 teams were wearing top-grade battle array equipment. The remaining warriors wore mid to low-grade battle array equipment. However, if we look at the value of these 23 sets of battle array equipment, it would cost tens of millions of copper coins to buy them. At the same time, they are still expensive but not marketable. Huang Lao, if you encounter such a battle formation combination, can you handle it? After watching for a moment, Chen Ronghuo asked. A battle formation composed of ordinary warriors is of no use to me. Huang Taizheng thought for a while and said, those 4 battle formations composed of all late-stage warriors in the warrior realm, if they are divided into 2, they should be able to deal with me for a while. As for the 2 battle formations composed entirely of warriors at the peak of the warrior realm, one alone could probably be on par with me, or even slightly better than me. It's not impossible. If a warrior doesn't take action, it's hard to see his strength. But because those warriors were fighting, Huang Taizheng was also able to judge the strength of those warriors in Green Water Baytown. Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath. Although they were standing far away at this time, they could still clearly see the huge role that the 4 battle formations, all composed of late-stage warriors in the warrior realm, played in the field. A battle formation composed of 5 warriors at the late stage of the warrior realm can defeat 3 or 4 peak warriors at the red sand formation. And he has the upper hand with ease. These 4 teams are like rhinos wearing helmets and armor, crossing the battlefield, and no one can stop them. As for the 2 teams, which were all probably composed of warriors at the peak of the warrior realm, they were confronting 2 gorgeously robed warriors from Angsha town and had not yet made a move. But Chen Ronghuo could guess it just by guessing. Those 2 warriors in gorgeous robes were probably the 2 earth warriors from Angsha town whose voices he had only heard last time, Wu Ji and Xie Chuntong. In addition to these people in Green Water Baytown, there were 2 other people standing quietly at the entrance of Red Fish Village. These 2 people. A man in a white robe, leaning forward slightly, with a handsome face, is Zhou Yuanhua, the Lord of Green Water Baytown. Zhou Yuanhua looks young, but in fact, he is nearly 50 years old. Zhou Yuanhua, Earth Warrior, Middle Stage 2, Water Warlock, Early Stage 2, Lord of Green Water Baytown. Age, 47. Warrior Qualification, 2, originally 1. Enhanced to 2 later. Warlock Qualification, 2, originally none, acquired later. After identifying Zhou Yuanhua's attributes, Chen Ronghuo frowned. Before, everyone told him that Zhou Yuanhua was just an early-stage warlock in the Transcendent Realm, but now it seems that Zhou Yuanhua has been promoted to a mid-level warlock in the Transcendent Realm at some point. Then, he looked at the man next to Zhou Yuanhua. Li Zhen, Earth Warrior, Early Stage. Leader of the Green Water Baytown Guard. Warrior Qualification, 2. At this time, Zhou Yuanhua and Li Zhen did not take action, but stood at the entrance of the village, quietly watching the battlefield in the distance. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo's eyes were solemn. In addition to the battle formation warriors of the Green Water Bay Town Guard, the combat power of the entire Green Water Bay Town is equivalent to 5 or 6 Earth warriors. And this does not count Zhou Yuanhua, a midterm Earth warrior. Is it okay? Just then, a strange voice suddenly spread throughout the field, as if it came from the depths of the earth. Zhou Yuanhua raised his eyebrows, but did not reply. And the Green Water Bay Town Guard, because there was no order from Zhou Yuanhua, had no intention of stopping. After a few breaths, after 2 more warriors from Angsha town died, the battlefield covered with blood suddenly moved. Then the ground of this battlefield turned into a red sandland with a radius of more than 100 meters in the blink of an eye. Begging for food. Thanks to I Love Sheep for the reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 79. Suddenly, more than 100 meters of red sand on the ground suddenly violated gravity and flew up, making the battlefield seem like it had fallen into the kingdom of sand. The red sand grains immediately rotated rapidly after flying up. Some are condensed together like ropes. Some are pieced together like blades. When the red sand in the sky was spinning, it enveloped all the warriors in Green Water Bay Town, and even the warriors in Red Sand Town. But when these grains of sand attacked, they only targeted the warriors of Green Water Bay Town. They will not invade the warriors of Angsha Town at all. Ah! Miserable howls sounded from the Red Sand Kingdom. Those low-level warriors, even if they were protected by battle array equipment, had their defenses broken in an instant when they were attacked by the red sand. The ropes of sand and the blades of sand flew by, and those warriors felt as if they were being tortured, and they died on the spot one by one. Seeing this scene, Huang Taizheng, Ho San, and others all felt cold in their hearts. The warriors in Green Water Bay Town are not just those who form battle formations. The warriors who formed the battle formation were all core members of the Green Water Bay Town Guards. In addition to these warriors from the villages affiliated with Lushwiven Town who came to support also filled the battlefield. After these warriors were swept away by the wild sand, except for the warriors at the lower level and above, all other warriors were instantly scraped away by the red sand, and even their bones were crushed into dregs and fell to the ground. If the people from Xiahe village had followed Lushwiven Town's instructions and came here to help out, their fate would probably not be much better. Almost instantly, there were 20 or 30 dead warriors in the field. This is the powerful cultivator crushing the low-level cultivators. Dark red sand, formed by the second-level advanced sand control technique. Chen Ronghuo glanced around and learned the true appearance of these red sands from ancient books. The lord of Angsha town is named Han Bai, who is a sand warlock. He hasn't discovered Han Bai's figure yet, but he can know how powerful Han Bai is just by using this technique of controlling sand with his hands. Buzz. After Han Bai used the sand control technique to kill 20 or 30 warriors, he suddenly condensed a large amount of red sand into a 3 to 4 meter long sand spear. The spear buzzed and flew dozens of meters away, arriving in front of a battle formation composed of late-stage warriors in the warrior realm. Boom! At this time, Li Zhen, the guard commander of Lushwiven Town beside Zhou Yuanhua, finally took action. He stepped forward, also crossing tens of meters. He held a big knife and used his strength to chop Huashan Mountain. He struck down with one blow and smashed the sand spear into red sand all over the sky. This group of warriors at the late stage of the warrior realm was saved from disaster. Hoo-hoo! Boom! After Li Zhen took action, the remaining red sand in the sky became more and more urgent. At this time, the warriors in Angsha town took the opportunity to retreat outside the scope of Angsha. The warriors in Green Water Bay Town also received the retreat command and quickly retreated. However, Due to the obstruction of red sand, their retreat speed was much slower than that of the warriors in Red Sand Town. Even during this period, another team composed of warriors in the middle stage of the warrior realm, and several warriors in the late stage of the warrior realm, were brutally massacred by the sand control technique. And just when most of the warriors had withdrawn from the range of the red sand, after rotating to a certain extent, suddenly formed 7 or 8 salon rolls more than 10 meters high around Li Zhen. Li Zhen wielded his sword and charged wildly, as if he wanted to get out of the red sand. But at this time, a large amount of red sand gathered around him, as if trying to keep him inside. Especially after the 7 or 8 salon rolls were formed, they focused on him and gathered towards him, trying to wrap him up. Zhou Yuanhua, who was in the distance, still did not take action. He stood calmly in the distance, as if he was looking for a fighter plane, or trying to find Han Bai's true body in the red sand. Whoops! At this time, with the howling wind, 7 or 8 salon volumes approached Li Zhen in an instant. Around him, Todoroki merged, locking him inside. The fine red sand on the inner wall of the salon roll roared, and each sand was as fast as lightning, wrapping tightly around Li Zhen's body and scraping away. It seemed as if it was wiping away his flesh and bones. Li Zhen swung his sword, and the blood around his body surged, and he danced the sword so hard that water couldn't get into it. It's just that although he has superb swordsmanship, his cultivation and strength are still far behind Han Bai. After just holding on for a few breaths, his body was already a bloody mess. Boom! At this moment, Zhou Yuanhua, who had been watching the battle, seemed to have finally found an opportunity and finally took action. As soon as his body moved, he rushed into the red sand in the sky. Then he slashed out with his sword, and the sword's blade stirred. After cutting a path in the rolling red sand, he moved his hand and took out a dozen dark green beads from nowhere, and threw them to a place in the red sand. After doing this, he turned around and made another false slash with his sword. With a groan, he split the huge tornado of sand that wrapped Lin Zhen from the outside inward. As the sword fell, the huge sand tornado that soared 20 to 30 meters into the sky was instantly shattered. Li Zhen, who followed him inside, didn't say a word, even dropped the sword in his hand, and rushed out of the red sand. As for Zhou Yuanhua, he withdrew from the Angsha area early. Boom! At this moment, the dark green beads that Zhou Yuanhua had just thrown into the red sand suddenly exploded one after another like underwater mines, setting off a huge wave in the red sand. At this moment, countless red sands were blown apart. Even the earth was dug up with deep pits. Green water elemental thunder, a one-time second-level low-grade secret treasure, with special secret patterns, accumulating spiritual energy, and can cause a huge explosion. In the gap, Chen Ronghuo identified the properties of those dark green beads. Plop! On the battlefield, Li Zhen ran a little slower and was lifted up by the aftermath of the explosion. He flew dozens of meters in the air before landing. After landing, he struggled several times before standing up. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo was awed. Ordinary warriors, using battle array weapons, can exert the strength of earth warriors. And second-level practitioners can crush ordinary warriors. Especially high-level second-level practitioners, such as Zhou Yuanhua and Han Bai. Zhou Yuanhua's sneak attack with a one-time secret treasure is better. In terms of real combat power, it is estimated that he can only fight against 3 or 4 beginner-level earth warriors. As for Han Bai, this person's own strength is probably stronger than Zhou Yuanhua. Chen Ronghuo held his breath. Now he is not only weak in his own strength, but also in the strength of his subordinates. Let alone competing with the 2 territories of Green Water Bay Town and Red Sand Town, even if he wants to survive between them, he is probably not qualified. I wonder what level of strength Huang Lin will reach after accepting the inheritance of the Black Snake. Chen Ronghuo thought secretly after looking at Huang Lin next to him. This is what he is most looking forward to at the moment. In a few days, Xuanlin has almost completed the great cause of reproducing offspring. Next, it is time for Xuanlin to accept the inheritance. But now it seems that if Xuanlin can only become an ordinary second-level cultivator, or even not even a second-level cultivator, he may have to wait a long time to establish a territory. But if Xuanlin accepts the inheritance of the Black Snake and obtains its residual power, his strength can be comparable to Zhou Yuanhua, then he can do a lot more next time. Battle Array Weapon, Green Water Elemental Thunder, Zhou Yuanhua, I really underestimated you. Suddenly, just as Chen Ronghuo was thinking this, a loud shout suddenly rang out. Then Chen Ronghuo saw that the red sand in the battlefield was whistling towards the center, and it actually gathered into two sand wings with one person as the center. Then the huge red sand wings, flapping, carried the man to a height of dozens of meters. Seeing this scene, many people held their breath. Han Bai appeared. And he could actually fly. Only Chen Ronghuo, after seeing Han Bai appear, his eyes flashed. Han Bai, Red Sand Warlock in the middle stage of the Transcendent Realm, late stage of the second stage. Lord of Red Sand Town. Warlock qualification, 3. Status, severely injured. Although Han Bai appeared to be extremely strong at this time, he was actually seriously injured. After identifying Han Bai, Chen Ronghuo also identified the huge sand wings that held up Han Bai. Red Sand Phantom Wings, a second-level advanced secret technique that can carry people to fly, and can also condense the spiritual energy of sand to assist in attack, as well as raise sandstorms to attack enemies. At this time, while Han Bai was flapping the red sand wings, he looked at Zhou Yuanhua below coldly and said angrily, "But since you want to fight to the death, then today, I will fulfill your wish, so what?" As he finished speaking, a red sand spear condensed in front of him. In the blink of an eye, dozens of red sand spears were formed. The spearheads pointed directly at the Green Water Bay Town warriors below, including Zhou Yuanhua. Seeing this scene, the pupils of the Green Water Bay Town all shrank, and then quickly scattered in all directions. This also included Li Zhen, who had just struggled to get up. Because those red sand spears, 7 or 8 of them were aimed at him. He was more frightened than the others. Han Bai wanted a decisive battle, and he would definitely not let him go. After sensing the crisis, he immediately took a strong breath, circulated his blood, and quickly moved away from the battlefield. At the same time, because the warriors of Angsha Town, especially the 2 earth warriors of Angsha Town, also glanced at him vaguely at this time, he was frightened and even dared not turn his head, and ran out of the scope of Hongyu village. He was seriously injured before, and staying in the field could only wait for death. In addition, Lushwiven Town was extremely short of people in this incident, so he was not worried that Zhou Yuanhua would trouble him afterwards. At this time, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed after identifying the red sand spears in front of Han Bai with ancient books. "Let's go." Suddenly, he moved, waved his hand to greet everyone and rushed down the mountain. "Master, where are we going?" Huang Taizhong and others were all puzzled. "Kill people." Chen Ronghuo said in a deep voice, "Li Zhen is seriously injured, Zhou Yuanhua is in a stalemate with Han Bai, now is our best chance to get rid of Li Zhen. Except Zhou Yuanhua, Li Zhen, the Earth Warrior, is the only one left in Lushwiven Town. The guards of Lushwiven Town are indeed powerful. But it takes 10 warriors in the late stage of the warrior realm to form 2 battle formations, or 5 warriors at the peak of the warrior realm to form a battle formation to fight against an earth warrior. In terms of mobility, it is definitely worse than a real earth warrior. In addition, Xiahe village is a subordinate village of Lushwiven Town, and Chen Ronghuo wants to develop Xiahe village, so there is a natural conflict between the two. Therefore, removing Li Zhen is absolutely of great significance to him. Once he removes Li Zhen, only Zhou Yuanhua, the polished commander, will be left in Lushwiven Town. Upon hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Huang Tai's Hung and others' eyes lit up. This matter is not difficult to understand. If Chen Ronghuo can think of it, they can naturally think of it too. It's just that they were all shocked by the battle in Red Fish Village just now, so they didn't think of this. The group of people quickly rushed down the mountain. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo glanced in the direction of the battlefield. Red Sand Phantom Spear, a second-level high-level secret technique. It has the power of a second-level secret technique, but has no power. It can only deal with some low-level practitioners. However, if the caster is willing to spend a certain amount of life force, this technique can be transformed into a truly powerful attack. At this time, Han Bai was obviously pretending. It's just unclear whether Zhou Yuanhua can be frightened. As far as Chen Ronghuo's own interests are concerned, he still hopes that Han Bai can be stronger. Otherwise, once Han Bai is destroyed by Zhou Yuanhua, then the surrounding areas will be unified by Greenwater Bay Town, and it will definitely not be so easy for him to take advantage of the situation to rise. However, after this battle, it can be seen that both Zhou Yuanhua and Han Bai are considered scheming people, and neither of them is easy to deal with. With this thought in mind, the group of people quickly arrived at the foot of the mountain. It's also a coincidence. The direction in which Li Zhen escaped was also towards them. After descending the mountain, the group did not continue forward, but stood by the roadside and waited. Not long after, Li Zhen's figure appeared in front of them. Kill! Seeing Li Zhen, Chen Ronghuo immediately waved decisively without any intention of communicating with Li Zhen. Whoosh! As Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Huang Tai's Hung rushed out immediately. With one step, he was 20 or 30 meters away. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Li Zhen, raised his fist and struck out. You! Li Zhen obviously recognized Huang Tai's Hung. When he saw Huang Tai's Hung taking action against him, he immediately shouted. But after he opened his mouth, he found that the words he said had strangely disappeared. In the distance, after Chen Ronghuo sealed away Li Zhen's loud shout, he stood quietly and did not step forward. Li Zhen, early Earth Warrior. Status, deeply injured. This is Li Zhen's current attribute. Boom. Immediately afterwards, Huang Tai's Hung, who was at the peak of his strength, faced Li Zhen, who was deeply injured and in a panic, and could not even speak. With just a few moves, he punched Li Zhen in the chest and beat him. Die on the spot. This person's death was definitely more aggrieved than that of Xuan, and he was no less willing to give in. Master. After beating Li Zhen to death, Huang Tai's Hung immediately turned his head and asked Chen Ronghuo what he would do next. Li Zhen, dead. After re-evaluating Li Zhen's attributes and knowing that Li Zhen was not pretending to be dead, Chen Ronghuo said, take his body and let's go. After killing Li Zhen, it is obvious that he cannot stay here for long. The 4,000-word chapter is not divided into chapters, it is just the 2 chapters in the morning. I will continue to ask for recommendation votes this time. A book friend from QQ Bookstore gave me a day editing. I don't know if it will be useful. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 80. Meow. Just then, the fat cat suddenly came running from a distance. It jumped lightly, and it was more than 10 meters away. This cat. Seeing the fat cat, Huang Tai's Hung and others were surprised. Before, they felt that Chen Ronghuo treated the fat cat too well, but because of the special ability of the fat cat, they did not realize the extraordinariness of the fat cat. Until now, when the fat cat came from afar, they realized that the fat cat was definitely not an ordinary cat. At the same time, they also found out at this time that Chen Ronghuo had let the cat out without knowing when. It's a demon. The salted fish that you lost in Xiahe village before were eaten by it. Chen Ronghuo explained lightly. The few people around him were all worthy of his trust, and there was no need to continue to hide it. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Everyone showed incredible expressions. Before this, no one thought that the demon that had entangled them for so long would actually be a cat in the village. Then they looked at each other and all smiled bitterly. If it weren't for Chen Ronghuo, they didn't know how long they would be deceived by this fat cat who was good at hiding itself. Meow. After approaching, the fat cat jumped into Chen Ronghuo's arms. Then it glanced at Huang Taizheng and the others, curled its lips, and showed a bit of disdain. These idiots, if their master didn't tell them, they would never know that it was a powerful demon in their lifetime. Humph. Chen Ronghuo ignored the arrogant fat cat. He asked in a deep voice, "You came back so soon, is the battle in Hongyu village over?" When he took Huang Taizheng and others down the mountain to kill Li Zhen, he didn't take the fat cat with him, but left the fat cat there to help monitor the battle in Hongyu village. Meow. The fat cat kept calling. Through the demon contract, Chen Ronghuo could roughly understand its voice. After a moment, he raised his eyebrows and translated fat cat's words. Zhou Yuanhua and Han Bai have reached some kind of agreement and have ceased fighting. But it is still unknown what the two will do next. Let's go back to the village first. As he spoke, he immediately took Huang Taizheng and others and rushed to Ziahe village along the way they came. While on the road, he released the power of his soul, spreading it out and blowing like the wind. He covered up all the footprints that the few people had stepped on along the way. He did not start doing this now. In fact, he had already done it when he just came down from the mountain. At the same time, he also used the power of his soul to activate the sealing power of the ancient book, sealing the breath of the few people, including Li Zhen. Huang Taizheng, how dare you? Of course, because there is only one sealed page in the ancient book. When he sealed the breath of the few people, he had to release the loud shout of Li Zhen that he had just sealed. However, he chose to release Li Zhen's voice in his stomach. Because he was already an apprentice-level peak warrior, his body was condensed and his voice was difficult to spread, so Li Zhen's voice was distorted when it came out. And the size was just like an ordinary person's voice, and it couldn't be spread far at all. But even so, after hearing Li Zhen's voice, Huang Taizheng and others were also shocked. Don't worry, the reason why Li Zhen couldn't make a sound just now was because his voice was eaten by me. Chen Ronghuo explained lightly. Eaten? Can the sound be eaten? Hearing this, several people looked at each other. Chen Ronghuo's method felt even more incredible. Half an hour later, the group finally returned to Ziahe village. Of course, this time, several people still went around the village from the back mountain and were not noticed by others. Standing in a small valley in the back mountain, Chen Ronghuo said, "Ho-san, this time your information was very timely and you did a good job." Ho-san said calmly, "This is just a small matter. It can be done by someone else." Chen Ronghuo nodded. "I said, follow me, and you will be rewarded if you have merit. Let me teach you how to awaken the blood of a warlock now. Different warlocks have different awakening methods. You have the blood of the earth war ape, and you can speed up the awakening of your blood by fighting continuously. In addition, if you can get the blood of ape demons and apply it on yourself, the awakening speed can be faster." Ho-san's awakening method was learned by Chen Ronghuo through ancient books a long time ago. Speaking out at this time is to hope that Ho-san's strength can be strengthened. According to the knowledge he got from ancient books, warlocks with the blood of the earth war ape are very compatible with the way of martial arts. The combination of the two can make cultivation extremely fast. Ho-san is now a peak warrior in the warrior realm. Once he awakens the blood of the earth war ape, he will most likely become an earth warrior in a short period of time. If Ho-san can also become an earth warrior, together with Huang Taizheng and Huang Lin who is about to receive the inheritance of the Black Snake, the power under his command can be considered to have taken shape. Thank you for your guidance, young master. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Ho-san immediately knelt on one knee on the ground, showing an extremely excited look. he was extremely eager to increase his strength. With his qualifications, without the help of genius treasures, it would take him several years to become a warrior of the earth. Now, Chen Ronghuo pointed out another clear path for him. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and said, "You get up first. Next, you practice while continuing to pay attention to the movements of Green Water Bay." After arranging Ho-san, Chen Ronghuo glanced at the others and said, "Old Huang, put down Li Zhen's body first, and I will deal with it later. And Huang-san, you should go back to accompany your wife as soon as possible. It shouldn't take long before I let you accept the inheritance. After accepting the inheritance, you may not be able to accompany her for a while." After Huang Lin accepted the inheritance, his body would show the characteristics of a snake in a short period of time. Chen Ronghuo guessed that this characteristic is likely to be the same as the body of the black snake, with snake scales growing all over the body. In this way, Huang Lin naturally couldn't accompany his wife in a short time. Otherwise, people would be scared to death. "Yes, sir." Huang Lin immediately agreed, feeling a little excited. Chen Ronghuo nodded, and then waved his hand, letting everyone go. After everyone dispersed, he took a deep breath. He had instructed others on their cultivation paths. As for his own cultivation path, he would naturally make plans. It was just that he had just broken through to the peak of the first level, and it was not realistic to advance to the second level in a short period of time. So his idea was to revive the dormant natural disaster magic flame first, and then try whether he could have the strength of a second-level cultivator when he was at the first level. Then he would find a way to officially break through to the second level. As for how to revive the natural disaster magic flame, he already had a plan. But this matter would have to wait a few more days, until Huang Lin accepted the inheritance. If he wanted to revive the natural disaster magic flame, he still needed Huang Lin's help. The bowl was always stolen, and the tickets were less. "Hey, this time I'll just dig a hole in the ground." Thanks to the two book friends Moueshi and Zhen Xiangni for their 500 coin reward, as well as the book friends Ai Fifeiwan and Sushin Hua for their rewards.